What is up, Daddy Gang? It is your founding father, Alex Cooper, with Call Her Daddy.
Taylor Momsen, welcome to Call Her Daddy.
Hello, thank you for having me.
I am so excited to finally sit down with you. I feel like you've been someone that I've wanted to have on, and it's been a long time coming, so it feels right that you're here.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent.
Are you in LA just for promo and everything?
Promo and Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and it's a busy week.
Okay, wait. I read somewhere that you are a night owl and you kind of go to bed late. Were you up late last night?
I tried to go to bed. Well, I actually flew in from Seattle yesterday.
Okay.
I feel like I haven't slept in at least 3 weeks.
Perfect.
So I'm kind of running on fumes. I'm hitting that point. So I tried to go to bed earlier, which was like midnight, which was very early for me.
Okay, is this just like all musicians though? Because every single musician I've interviewed, one wants a late start, and two, it's like they literally like start their nights at like 1 a.m.
I think my brain doesn't wake up until like 7.
Okay. So 7 p.m.
7 p.m.
Perfect.
So like anything before 7 o'clock, I can show up, I can do it, but my brain just isn't at its highest functioning quality until like 7.
But do you think that's because you're playing shows and writing music and you're most creative at night?
I think definitely a part of it is the routine of used to being up late because of touring and things.
Right.
So you get on that schedule and then it's just hard to switch a schedule. But I've always found, even when I was younger and I didn't have that, if I try to go to bed early, I can't, even if I fall asleep, I'm more tired the next day than if I just stay up and then sleep less. It's a weird thing, but I definitely find my creative brain starts to work at night.
Okay, well, I'm happy that you're awake and you're here. This is fabulous.
Made it.
Okay, you are the lead singer of the Pretty Reckless band. Can we talk though about that you have a Christmas EP that just came out? And I feel like just from the vibes, I'm like, this is a departure from what your band is usually doing. Did you have to convince everyone to do this? And like, was it primarily your idea?
It was my idea. Well, let me rephrase that. It was the fans' idea. So this is something that it's Taylor Momsen's Pretty Reckless Christmas. And I'm doing the song from The Grinch, Where Are You Christmas? And that was something that when I first formed the Pretty Reckless when I was 14, every year people would put the connection together that I was Cindy Lou Who in The Grinch. And every year it got more and more exponential and more people, put that together. And it was always kind of a funny thing that, you smile at and you go, that's cute. And every year they'd go do a rock version of Where Are You Christmas? And for, 15 years, I went, no way. Like in 0 worlds is this something I would ever do. Fast forward to it's COVID. We've gone through a lot of loss. Like it's a very hard time in the Pretty Reckless world and in my life. And there's nothing to do because we're in lockdown. And so the only thing to do is to rehearse with the band because we're all cool to be together. And so we just spent a lot of time in the rehearsal studio. The holidays were coming up. We're starting to see these comments again of do a rock version of Where Are You Christmas? And we kind of I kind of turned to everyone and went, should we just try this? Like, should we just see what happens here? And so we put together an arrangement, which was actually kind of tricky because it's not really a full song. It's a minute long. And so to make it a 3.5 minute song, whatever, we worked that out. We go into the rehearsal space and we jam through it once. And I kid you not, Alex, by the end of the song, these 4 depressed, miserable people had giant grins on our faces. And we all kind of looked at each other and went, was that just great? Like, I think that there was something magic that just happened here. Are we doing this now? We're doing this. So that's where it started. And then I decided, in order to, being me and being very thorough with everything, in order to have it, I needed it to have context and I needed it to equate to me now and, all the things that there's actually some substance to what I'm doing. So I wrote an entire original Christmas record around it. And
of course you did.
And of course I did. And
but the fact that it came also from like the fans relentlessly being like, come on, like bring our girl Cindy Lou Who back, like come on. And which I want to get into today because I know there's a lot to discuss in terms of like your early career. And I feel like I've had a lot of conversations with actresses who then go into different roles in their career of just like, making a pivot as a woman is so difficult. And so sometimes you have to abandon who you were known for and really, really almost like kind of turn your back on that to be taken seriously in another department.
Oh, 100%.
And so the fact that you are now sitting here and like even like being able to like smile and say Cindy Lou Who with a smile in an interview, like I'm sure if I interviewed you maybe 10 years ago, you would be like, I don't even want to talk about that.
Yeah, there's definitely an element of that.
So there's growth.
Oh, there's tons of growth. And I think also, you know, I'd be remiss to not mention the loss that we went through. And it was a hard time for me. And I think coming out of that grief and getting to the other side of it, it forced me to kind of reflect on my life in a lot of ways. And Grinch, like I went back to the very beginning, and Grinch to me was always great. Like I don't have any bad memories with Grinch. Everything about it was awesome. Like it was super fun. I was super young, but there were so many, it was such an incredible project to be a part of that was so upper echelon at such a young age to see, you know, actors of that caliber and of Jim Carrey and Molly Shannon, et cetera, Ron Howard. And then it was also my first experience in a recording studio. And so, you know, when the movie came out and stuff and I was in school, like you're teased relentlessly for it. You're Grinch girl. I moved around a lot. Like all of that kind of stuff was hard for me as a kid. But when I got older and looking back on it, I go, no, all of those things that happened, all of those experiences of making this film was wonderful. And so why am I shunning this? And like, I am Cindy Lou Who. Like I am that girl. Like I'm still that girl.
I think we're a similar age. Are you 31, 32? Okay, I'm 31. And I want to go back to the beginning because I know you started your career so young. But even when we're going to talk about The Grinch, I was thinking about that where I read that you had been bullied for this role.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there and I'm like, what? Like, what do you, what? Like, that is the most, like, iconic, incredible, this movie has lived forever. I watch it every single year. Like, you were adorable and perfect and all the things. But then it's like, oh no, but you're also just like a normal kid then going to school and kids are fucking assholes.
Yeah,
whether it was
assholes.
Or jealousy or they actually just thought you were a quote unquote freak. They're like, you're the Grinch girl. And you're like,
oh, yeah.
So at that age, it doesn't matter that this is like this incredible movie. It matters what your peers are saying. And if they're saying you're not cool for that, then you digest that to be like, I'm not cool for this.
Oh yeah. And I didn't grow up in a Hollywood household or anything. Like I was born in St. Louis.
Okay, wait. Take me back. You get into the industry, from what I understand, around like 2 years old.
Yeah.
How do your parents even explain to you like why they got you in so young?
I was just talking about this the other day, and I think I need to have another conversation with my parents because I don't even fully know the story. I know they put me into modeling. I was signed by Ford Modeling Agency when I was 2, and I was very chatty and I don't know, a bunkular. And they went, my modeling agency said, does she have an acting agent? And my parents went, no. And they went, okay, well, she should. So go over to this agency. They sent me on my first audition and I booked it that day. It was for Shake and Bake and I was 3. So that, it was a national commercial. And so that was kind of the kicking off point where I think they went, oh, we can do something with this for real. And so that was the start of it.
So you start as a model.
Started as a kid model.
And do you have any like core memories or no? You were just so young.
Not really. Like I only remember the photos because I've seen them, you know?
Okay. So then you get The Grinch at 6. 5?
That's also blurry. It's 5, 6.
5, 6.
It's somewhere in there.
Okay. 5, 6. You star as Cindy Lou Who. Talk to me about like the audition. Do you remember the audition at all?
I remember pieces of the audition because it was a really long process. That's why the timeline's a little blurry. So I think I started auditioning for it when I was 5 and it came out when I was 7. So I had birthdays in between there, obviously. But the audition process was long. I remember going in, is lots of rounds of it. And I remember the screen testing the most because that's where it was down to me and 2 other girls. And we got to try on wigs. And that's where they were starting to kind of put together what Cindy's going to look like. And so I went from a neon pink wig to a green wig to a yellow wig to this kind of outfit to this kind of outfit. And that process was really, really fun for me as a kid because you get to play dress up. And it's awesome. And so it's pieces of it. It's hard. Starting so young, it's always hard to remember what you remember and what you remember because people have told you the stories and you've turned them into memories. Also, I can watch my entire life. So it's how much do you remember? How much are you watching it and remembering from that, you know?
Yeah, because it's like similar, very different, but similar just for a kid in your childhood, you get told things by your parents.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
And you see a picture and then you can kind of also like fakely come up with what you think you remember from that.
Exactly.
But we're so fucking young and like 5 years old. Because I was thinking, you're saying it was so fun to do these, try on these wigs, but do you remember any part of you in any capacity being like intimidated by being a part of something so big, or you didn't even understand?
I didn't understand that. And I never remember being nervous or anything like that. It was fun. It was like that's what I'm saying. Like Grinch is so positive for me. Like that, my memories of that are so awesome.
Okay, you had to go to Who School. Sorry, just indulge me because like we're getting close to the holidays.
Who School, talking about fun. Who School was amazing.
Do you remember like the wildest things that you got to be a part of during that time?
Well, the entire Who School was, I think it was like 7 months long of all the people and all the acrobats training to learn to act and create this world that Ron saw in his head of this whimsical, over the top Whoville. So walking into that, it was a big, like what are they called? Hangars, the big sets on Universal Lot.
Yep.
And it was just empty, but they had giant, life-size balls that acrobats are walking on and people doing backflips. And so you walked into this world and you're just going, what is this kid playground? And I did all my own stunts. So I had to learn I did stunt training.
Okay, wait, but you didn't have to do the prosthetics, right?
I didn't have to do the prosthetics. Rick Baker molded my face. And after he casted me and stuff, I think everyone just kind of collectively decided that that's too much to put a kid through, to have to go into prosthetics every day. So they wrote it into the script that I haven't grown into my nose yet.
No, honestly, adorable. I also was thinking about that because I think I saw an article somewhere where it was like Jim Carrey would sit in like 8.5 hours of prosthetics, and it killed him. Like Truly.
From what I remember, it was brutal on
insane.
Him. He went. I think he feel free to tell me if I'm wrong. But if I remember correctly, I think he went through actual torture training, like with a real Navy SEAL guy to learn how to deal with it because he's so covered. I mean, the suit, and the contacts. I remember there was a time when, because we had all that fake snow coming down, and snow got underneath his contact, and it killed him. Like, so painful.
No. I genuinely can't imagine. But then obviously, like, he brought it to life in such a beautiful way. Do you remember just like what it was like having him as your co-star? Because he's obviously so fucking talented. It's like crazy.
Insane. To see that level of talent at such a young age, I think really had a big impact on me. Yeah. Just to see someone who takes their craft that seriously. And I get asked a lot if he scared me, because I think a lot of kids were scared of the Grinch. He's never scary to me. To me, he was always Jim, and he was always in makeup. He was very protective of me. He was very kind, super funny, super animated, absolutely awesome. But the funny thing is, I never knew what Jim Carrey looked like because I never saw him because he was there way early doing the prosthetics.
Oh my God. So you're like,
no,
Jim Carrey is the Grinch.
Jim Carrey is the Grinch. So I didn't know who Jim was until the premiere, and someone had to point him out to me and go, "That's Jim." And I went, "Oh, Jim."
That's such a mind fuck.
Crazy,
you're like,
right?
Wait a second. I know the voice, but oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. So we're talking about this like beautiful moment in your life. And then like you referenced earlier, then you go back to school. So you're like experiencing the most incredible, like kids would dream of this, and you're on these sets and you're doing all that. Yeah. And then you go back to school. And are you living in St. Louis?
Living in St. Louis. My dad works there, and I was going to Catholic school.
Oh,
and
well,
yeah,
me too,
that's
girl.
a whole thing.
Oh, how'd that go?
Oh, wonderful. Oh. Don't you know? Weren't the nuns awesome?
They were so loving and understanding.
I loved when I got really tall and my skirt got too short and I got punished for it. That was super fun.
Stop. They're like literally measuring to the knee.
Did you have to do it? Did you do the kneel?
Yes.
Where they make you kneel and measure from your hip down?
Taylor, I like black it out because I was like, no, please don't make me. And I agree with you. Some girls got away if they were shorter with like the skirts could be a little shorter, but if you were tall.
And I just outgrew it. It's not my fault. I went through a growth spurt, but nope, you're in trouble.
Okay, so you're going through all this. Talk to me though about being a kid and like, did you have friends? Were you able to make friends?
I I've always had like a couple close friends in every stage of my life, one or two, but I've gone through so many phases of myself. Like I think the weirdest thing that people probably don't know about me is that I'm actually really shy, and no one guesses that. And so I have this external version of myself that is the performer and the professional and all of that. But that's where like songwriting became really important to me, because that's where I felt like I could be me. And I started writing when I was really little. So like around Grinch, like 5.
But I think that makes sense, because now being more involved in the industry, like I think a lot of actors, not everyone, like goes through these weird moments where it's like, I'm reading the lines that someone else wrote. Mm-hmm. I'm doing what the director is telling me to do. And so like there's not a lot of autonomy that you've got going on in these situations. So like to have something as an outlet that like you can genuinely have for yourself, I think a lot of actors try to find that for themselves, because we as consumers think that these actors are like they somehow maybe wrote the lines or they did these things. And then a lot of actors are like, no, I'm like just doing what everyone's telling me to do. Yeah. And that from a young age of like, you're starting so young of reading these lines, being these characters. Everyone knows you as these characters. You're like, wait, who is Taylor as a human being outside of that?
Well, I think I always had a really strong sense of self. I always knew that. And, you know, that's why Grinch is weird. But once you get into Grinch is specific. And then once you get into teenage years with Gossip Girl and things, that's where I think my identity crisis started to come into play, because that was a whole different world. Grinch is a film that came out that it clearly lives in an imagination world. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't walk out of my house and have a Cindy Lou Who wig on. So it's so there was a clear line there for me, I think, where this is plain dress up and this is Taylor. And when it got into Gossip Girl and suddenly that was a celebrity show and a tabloid show and New York and paparazzi, and suddenly you're being photographed as a character by paparazzi and put into the tabloids as Taylor, and I'm going, that's not what I was wearing, that's not me, that's a character. And I'm getting hate from things I did on the show that I have nothing to do with. And so I think, and I was young, I was 14, so I think that started to bother me, and that's where I started to realize like I'm not good at being someone else's tool. Like I need to be my own person.
Also, Taylor, you saying 14? 13
in the pilot.
14, that's like right when people are going into high school. Mm-hmm. And even if you're not an actress, we're all fucked in the head at that point, because we're like, who am I? And some people are going through puberty faster than others, and some people have, you know, are figuring out their sexual identity, and some people feel, and you're just like, who am I? I am a disaster. So to also be doing it on the world stage and playing a character that can somewhat seem like you but it's not you, it's a lot.
It was a mind fuck.
Call Her Daddy is brought to you by Tinder. All right, let's talk about Tinder, or better yet, let's talk about the early days euphoria that comes with having a new crush. The kind of crush where you've been maybe down bad, but in the best way, okay? You cannot stop thinking about them. Every single song reminds you of them, and you are making up scenarios about them in your head. There's kind of nothing better, right? Well, amazing news. That crush feeling is waiting for you on Tinder. Like literally right now, you have no idea what is out there unless you start looking. And Daddy Gang, the possibilities are endless. Once you have a crush, even the most mundane moments become beyond monumental. It is time to find the person who makes your entire day better by simply just texting you, hey, with a smiley face. You deserve it, okay? We all know there's no better feeling, and finding a new crush is easier than you think. Thanks to Tinder. Explore all of the possibilities for yourself. Tinder, it starts with a swipe. Download Tinder today. Call Her Daddy is brought to you by Shopify. I cannot believe it's almost been a year since we released Unwell Hydration. Our winter launch party was beyond fun. We had ice sculptures, fur boots, and of course, Unwell Hydration in everyone's hands. The holidays are truly the most exciting time of year for entrepreneurs. You can do limited edition drops, market, pop-ups, gift sets, and just kind of anything you can imagine. There's just so much opportunity. But you really need to be ready to take that opportunity. And that is why I use Shopify. It keeps literally everything organized in one place so I can stay creative and focus on making things people actually want. With Shopify Magic and their suite of AI tools, I basically have my own assistant helping with literally everything from giving reports to even generating content ideas. And I love that I can run my entire business right on my phone. Like I will be standing in line, grabbing a coffee, checking orders, tracking sales. It's all right there. And it saves me so much time and lets me actually enjoy the season while growing the business. So Daddy Gang, it is your time to build your brand. Head to shopify.com/daddy to see how easy it is to start your business today. So you're living in St. Louis,
yes.
You get more jobs, and then you get Gossip Girl at 13 years old.
Well, they were missing a move. So I lived in St. Louis till I was 10,
okay.
And then my dad switched jobs and we moved to Maryland. So now I'm in middle school in Maryland, and I have just started my first band, like an actual garage band with kids from my school. I finally found my little clique, which was kind of the first time in my life I felt that, and it was exciting to me. And I was still the weird art kid who, wore combat boots and leather jackets to school. And this was Potomac, Maryland. So this is very preppy, and
love that for you.
All the girls had bows in their hair and Uggs and matching Juicy Couture sweatsuits. And so I was always just off in schools. So I found my crowd, found the art crowd, started my first band, and was doing really well. Like I was well adjusted to this school and this group of friends. And that's when Gossip Girl came around. And that's when I said, they go, you're going to move to New York. You're going to audition for this and you would have to move to New York for it. No. I don't want to do this anymore. I love where I'm at. And 12 at the time. And my agent, my manager, they all flew to my house to convince me to audition for this, going, this is going to be a great opportunity and you'll get to move to New York and it's fashion based. You love fashion and you love New York and blah, blah, blah. So long story short, ended up going to New York to audition for it.
Where are your parents at this point?
Oh, they're there. They're encouraging this choice. And I don't think it was with any kind of malice or anything like that. I think they're just looking at going, this is a huge opportunity. And just because you're having a good time in school right now doesn't mean you pass up on something that's this massive.
Did you at all, because I know I've talked to child actors that like there is like an obvious, the financial pressure of just like you're a working child. And I know it's like an awkward topic. So like share what you're comfortable. But like was that a factor at all in this decision?
It wasn't spoken about to me, and I'm still not even a teenager yet. So I never realized I was making money. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So that kind of, this was always, this is fun and you like this. And there was an element of, you do well, you get praise. You don't do well, you don't. And so it's a lot to unpack, I think, probably as an adult looking back on it. And I think a lot of my life now I spend not really thinking about it and going, because I'm one that very much does not live with regret or wishing I could change things or
For
whatever.
sure.
That's just not my vibe, because I think it's kind of pointless. So I'm very I'm always looking forward, and I reflect on things in order to write about them and process them and that kind of stuff. But it is what it is at this point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Again, I think like there's a natural like empathy that I think like the world now just has for child actors, because I think of just like the honest truth that just has come out for a lot of these people that like went through this. And like when you did get into Gossip Girl, did you then understand that you were making money, or like at what point do you think you were like, wait, you guys, this is also like mine?
It was Gossip Girl, and it was, well, I left, I moved out really young. So it was around that time that I started to realize like suddenly I was becoming in charge of my own finances and that kind of stuff. And so that's when I kind of put everything together. But it was it was Gossip Girl that made Gossip Girl's a weird one because like in one way it was, you know, it was awesome. And in the other way, I really didn't want to be there. So it was me starting to come into my own as a person and having this tug. It's where music is the thing. Because I was starting to do that. I was always writing songs. I was always doing these things behind the scenes. But now to be so universally famous for something that isn't me was really challenging for me. And so I felt like I immediately became very defensive. I was defensive in interviews. I was very also young, so arrogant and kind of an asshole and, you know, all those things. Figuring it out in front of everyone. But figuring it out in front of everyone and being judged, you know, very harshly for it, while trying to push back against that, going, I don't want this. I want this over here, and I don't know how to get to this place.
It's almost like you couldn't stop it once the train started moving. And as we know how big Gossip Girl got,
and no one expected that.
Yeah. Okay, take me to your agents decide, okay, you got to do this. You eventually say yes. You go to New York. You read for the part. Like, what was your first impression of Jenny Humphrey?
Well, I mean, I kind of related to the character. I never really auditioned for things that I didn't understand, and feeling like an outcast in a, you know, in a world that you don't fit in was kind of, that's who I was. It wasn't, I wasn't from Brooklyn and, you know, all that stuff, but it was as a general concept of a character, I identified with her.
I feel like now, I was about to say this, I'm like, oh, this was kind of a theme lightly in The Grinch for you too, but like you're 14 on set and everyone else is like bare minimum mid-20s. Yes. Like you are beyond the youngest person really on this set. Yeah. How did that dynamic impact you?
Well, I grew up real fast. Let's put it that way. But no, I mean, everyone was cool. It was, I still had Connor, who played Eric. He's still one of my best friends. Love that guy.
Well, that's nice because you also had like a lot of scenes with him.
Okay. And he kind of, when I first moved to New York, he took me under his wing. I actually ended up going to his high school. And so he introduced me to his friend group and, you know, that kind of whole world, which was only about a year. I ended up graduating early because freshman and trying to go to it had to be a performing arts high school because that's the only way that I could leave and work, and they would give you your work to leave. And I was really adamant about not wanting to be homeschooled because I wanted to make friends. But the reality is the work schedule was too much and I wasn't going there anyway. So I ended up leaving that homeschooling and then graduating at 16. But
so you're 16 and
15.
15. You're living in New York City. You're no longer going to high school. What are you doing when you're not filming?
I was working in the studio. I was writing and working in the studio and then getting into trouble, you know, but typical trouble.
Typical as like you would do in New York City as a young girl that's just like, I have all of this and no one's going to tell me no.
And all my friends were older and I never once got ID'd. So that's also part with celebrity, you know, suddenly all those kinds of doors are just open to you and it's fine.
Did you go out with the cast at all or no? You had a separate?
I didn't go out with them too much, but I would hang out at their apartments and stuff. Like Chase and Ed lived together at the time. And
when I had Chase on and he told me about the rooftop parties.
Parties.
Okay, so you frequented the rooftop
Oh yeah, we lived like 2 blocks from each other. So
you were having the time of your life.
Oh yeah, so I would spend a lot of time at their apartment and it was very boys club, which was very fitting to me. I've always fit in with boys clubs. And
like,
so that was so
I remember he came on, what was it? He was like, oh, I remember one time we had the party and like Lindsay Lohan showed up and we were like, act cool. This is cool. This is cool. This is cool. Okay, so you were there.
Oh yeah.
So that's like although still you're young, but that's kind of the fun side of like, okay, you're getting to become an adult. You're doing it in a pretty fast paced way. But when I did interview Chase and Penn, and this is kind of what you had lightly alluded to and lightly talked about earlier in this interview, is the sudden and intense fame.
Yes.
And the explosion of the show that no one could have anticipated.
No one could have.
Just talk to me about it. Like from like when it first starts, like how does it impact you off the bat?
Well, I mean, the first impact is the paparazzi, and that's something that I hadn't dealt with before. And in New York, there's no escaping it, at least at that time. Now, I still live in New York, and now I know. Now there's like kind of rules to it. But
you know where to go.
You know where to go. You know where not to go. And you know, if you're in Soho, be prepared to be photographed. It's fair game.
Yes.
But they were coming to my house. They were going to my sister's school. They were everywhere, and that feeling of kind of being watched and stalked is just, it's intimidating. Is, I guess, it's unnerving.
And there's also like no one that has the right answer of what to do other than like just deal with it.
Just deal with it.
And all of your castmates were going through it, but again, you were at such a young age that I can only imagine you're like trying to grow up and handle it, but also like, did your parents move to the city?
My mom and me and my sister did. And
okay.
My dad was still working in Maryland.
Okay. Was there ever a time that you can like recall a memory of like when you were like, no, this is like really getting too much?
I think the reality is I handled it really well. I think I'm pretty thick-skinned at the end of the day. I've lived a very strange life, and I've learned to kind of let things roll off my back. But it was less the paparazzi in person that went, this is too much, and more what would come out afterwards from the photos, and that would turn. And that really started once I started the band, like the negative press, where there was this kind of hatred of what I was doing from the world, and people being like, here's an example. I'm on stage. I'm 16. I'm playing a show. I'm wearing a little dress. I have underwear on, but a photographer goes and shoots up my skirt. He kneels down, shoots up my dress, and my tampon string had slipped out. And so my tampon string was sticking out of my underwear. Perez Hilton puts that on the homepage of Perez Hilton. You can see like the side of my pussy and everything. Like it's like it's still on the internet. Have fun looking it up. But I'm underage, and the violation and his headline, I don't remember what it said, but the headline was very negative of like slut. Like look how trashy Taylor is, kind of thing. And that kind of concept, like, it's so invasive. And I laugh about it now. And I laughed about it probably a week later because there's nothing you can do about it. But that's the kind of press that we're talking about, where people were or I was in a taxi cab and paparazzi jumped in the cab with me, and it's blinding lights, and I go like this to cover my face, and my assistant and friend at the time covers my face, and it's on the homepage of whatever tabloid site going, Taylor Momsen fucked up leaving club, because my eyes are kind of rolling back from they pick the one shot that looks bad and try to spin some kind of negative story around it. So I was getting a lot of negative press. Looking back, I probably should have hired a publicist, but I didn't know better. So
a publicist or a therapist or a bodyguard or Jesus fucking Christ, there's no right answer though. Dude, you saying though that you're like, I would probably laugh about it a week later. Did you ever have breakdowns over this kind of invasion of privacy and absolute like exploitation?
Probably internally. I never showed them. And again, that's where songwriting came into play. Like that's where the first album, everything turns around here. Like it's not all negative. It's more that I learned to take the hard things in my life from any aspect of it, big or small, and turn it into music. And that's how I've coped with life. Like music is my therapy. And it was finding the right partners musically for me was everything. And so when I did, it changed my life. And I suddenly then had a support system in my band and in Kato, our producer, who supported me for me and what I wanted to do and my vision. And they had no ulterior motive, or like there was nothing from the outside. It was just pure support of like, you do what you want to do. And that was huge.
I can't imagine like what you're saying of like that young girl in Maryland loving more than anything making music and being like, I'm really good at this. And I'm like finding my voice and all of that. Then kind of getting thrust into this spotlight, like you said, through a career that you actually weren't really that passionate about or excited about.
No. And I was that's the thing. Like when I was little, I liked it. Like I didn't know better. That was just, I started at 2. So it was something I just always did. So there was no choice in the matter. It wasn't forced upon me. I wasn't like, throwing tantrums going, I don't want to do this. And my parents are going, you have to. It wasn't that. But I wasn't making my own decisions. I wasn't seeing past it. And when I hit 12, 13, 14 with Gossip Girl, and this whole other world is thrown on you that you didn't ask for, like fame. Fame is this thing that you got to kick over your shoulder, and it's something you deal with that comes with it. But when you're not prepared for it, which I don't think anyone ever is.
No.
But when it's something that I'm just going to work and doing what I've always done. And now suddenly there's this whole other aspect to it that you have to learn to navigate.
Again, and the difference between like being a woman and a man in this industry is like astronomically different, because
it really is.
The photo that you just described being on the front page of someone's website, that is like, so that like should literally be illegal of how they're violating your body, especially. Not even especially.
Well, it's also child porn. So
right.
I don't know how that's still like
you're
fine.
Underage.
Yeah.
Underage or not.
Yeah.
Complete violation. I was looking up and I just started to see like a lot of the tabloids also that they were referring to sometimes as this wild child or this party girl. And then you're giving a little bit of this behind the scenes of like, no, that's literally just like a picture that you're in my fucking cab violating me.
You're in my cab. First of all, I was never really a wild child. I was working all the time. Like I would go to set on Gossip Girl because I started making the first record while I was still on the show because I formed the band at 14. So I would go to work at 4 a.m. on Gossip Girl, work till 6 at whatever time we wrapped, go straight to the studio and work in the studio from whatever that time was till 2 a.m. Come back, sleep for maybe an hour and then do it all again. So I was working all the time. So this whole like wild child persona, it was just the makeup and my fashion choices, which were a bit outrageous, but very me. Like, I was just being authentic. And so I think some of that was curated. And also, it's my image. My image was a little out there. And I was very... I mean, now I call it pretentious. I look back on it and I go, oh, it's like cringy how pretentious some of the things I would say was and how I'd speak and carry myself. But that's who I was at the time. And I think that some of that pretension came across extra because I was being defensive, because I felt like I constantly had to defend who I was as a person every time someone asked me a question instead of just answering it kind of honestly, you know?
Yes, I think there was like, again, you're so young. There's like a level of like internally you were trying to protect yourself. And so like I
was fighting.
Yeah.
I was more fighting going, this is me. You're getting it wrong. So I felt like I really had to fight to explain who I was. When now as an adult, you just be who you are and relax into it. And
yes, but I also think I was thinking about this is like I've now interviewed a good amount of people who have been a part of a franchise that was all consuming, and the fandom level is just like you will
intense.
And you'll never be able to describe it, right? Like, and it's once in sometimes generations. Like there's these very specific shows that just take the world by storm, and I think the fandom. We are watching these romanticized shows that are very curated, and there's directors and there's writers' rooms, and these are really good fucking shows. Mm-hmm. But then we are blurring the lines between Jenny Humphrey is not Taylor Momsen and Taylor Momsen is not Jenny Humphrey, but people don't give a fuck. And so they want you to be Jenny Humphrey. And you're like, guys.
Yes.
I'm literally, I am from St. Louis.
Yes.
I'm not from Brooklyn.
Yes.
And so can you talk to me a little bit about like having this hard time between separating yourself from Jenny Humphrey and Taylor, and like how the fuck did you mentally do that?
Well, I quit.
Yeah.
That's
oh yeah, we're getting there. Oh yeah. You're like, bitch, I left.
I left. I can't do this. It was a struggle there for years, but I what I did was I treated it very much like a job, a professional. I showed up, I did my job, and then I went to the studio.
Did you resent her though?
Me.
Like the character?
I resented I didn't resent. I don't know how to explain this. When I left the show, and I was no longer on it, and I was just touring with the band and just putting out music, and I quit everything else, and that's all I was doing. And every question and every interview was still about Gossip Girl and Jenny Humphrey and will you ever go back to acting and blah, blah, blah. And the list of questions on and on and on. The first year, you get it. The second year, you kind of laugh at it. By like, as it kept going, I was going, oh, I'm never going to outlive this character. And that's a weird thing to come to grips with. So you just kind of, I ignored it. you live your life.
And I feel like from what we're talking about is like you're going to the studio, you're recording after Gossip Girl. But then, like you said, people really didn't want to hear about you as a musician because they're like,
well, they didn't take it seriously, which in their defense, I wouldn't have either.
Okay, talking about that.
If you brought to me a 14-year-old fronted rock band with a chick who was on a soap opera, I would roll my eyes at it and go, yeah, I don't give two fucks about whatever you're trying to show me right now.
Fair.
So of course they did. Like,
yes,
because I picked the hardest path. I trying to gain credibility in a world that is impossible to gain credibility coming from the circumstances that I came from. A, rock and roll, hard as hell. B, a woman in rock and roll, hard as hell. And then 3, teenage soap star.
You're like,
wants to be taken serious. So it was just, I had everything stacked against me.
Right.
In that way. But, and so there was a lot of, this is fake and she's a poser and this is who so-and-so writes her songs and blah, blah, blah. None of which was true. I write everything myself. I co-produce the records. Like there's no one but me and the band involved in what we do. And it's incredibly personal and and I take it incredibly seriously. And I realized very quickly that the only way to overcome that kind of hate or whatever is to A, shut it out and just do it.
Keep going. Yeah.
Well, you just do it.
Yeah.
You keep going. We toured the world relentlessly. I kept writing songs. We kept putting out records. You have to do it the old school way.
You're like, I'm not going anywhere. Consistency, just keep. Hi, here we go again. Another song.
I can't, because you can't keep explaining yourself. There's no point in explaining yourself. So I got tired of that and gave up on it. And then that's when things actually started to get easier, is when I stopped being so defensive and just was.
Well, isn't that fucking beautiful?
Right?
But it sounds so straightforward, but it's so fucking hard.
Oh, yeah.
And again, because we're talking, like, just reminding everyone again, 14, 15, 16 years old. Like, most people were having like their fucking sweet 16s in Alabama and being like, Mom, can I get a padded bra? And you're trying to pivot as a young woman in an industry where most of the time we are only accepted as one thing. And it's like, good luck. Okay. We're gonna get there, because now I want to finish off with, you said, bitch, I fucking quit.
Yeah,
like,
I quit.
Let's talk about it. How early on did you actually know I want to get the fuck out of here?
It's definitely, when did I actually leave? Was it season 3? I never watched the show, so my timeline's always messed up.
Okay, so you leave.
I'm
season
gone
4.
by
I think season 4.
Season 4.
Season 4.
So season 1's a whirlwind. It's probably around season 2.
Okay.
It's whenever I started the band. Like when I met Ben and Kato, and it changed everything.
Did you talk to them though about being on this show, being like, guys, I got to get out of here?
Oh yeah.
You're like, guys.
Oh yeah.
I'm in jail. Get me out.
I knew I had to leave, but at the same time, leaving a career that is so prosperous and it was not easy.
Yeah.
It was an easy decision for me. Sorry, I shouldn't say not easy. Not easy in the way of like, to actually get out of a contract was not easy.
Okay, talk to me.
So
what happened?
This was hard. So it started with I don't want to do this anymore, but you're in a lock and key contract with CW, Warner Brothers, all of that stuff. And it came down to, it was a very long battle of me arguing everyone and going, get me out of this. I can't do this anymore. This is killing me. Like I have something else I want to do with my life and it has nothing to do with this. And I can't be stuck here anymore. And you're called ungrateful and you're called like all the things that come along with how dare you turn your back on something that's been so successful for you was hard. But it came down.
How do you feel about that though, when people say that?
Oh, I just went, fuck you. You don't know what you're talking. Like, you're not in my shoes, so how dare you judge this? So I was very, very defensive. But it came down to, they wouldn't let me out of the contract. The head of Warner Brothers said, fuck Taylor Momsen. No fucking way. I go to the writers, and Stephanie Savage and Josh Schwartz, who I love, like genuinely love, and explained the situation. There was, lots of talks about it, but they essentially went, well, we can't let you out of the contract because that's not our job, but we can write you out of the show. We understand what you want or what you're trying to do here. You're not going to be able to act because you're under contract, so you can't go take another job and join some other TV show or some other movie. And I'm like, that's perfectly fine. I'm trying to get out. Like, it's not what I want to do anyway. It's good. So I really have to credit them for doing that for me, because they did not have to. And they wrote me out of the show so I could go on tour and be in a band.
How did you share this with castmates? Were you close with anyone enough to share it, or just kind of say peace out?
Not really. I kind of just Irish dipped. I wasn't in the script the next week.
They're like, where's Taylor?
I mean, they all knew I was making music. They all knew I had a band. Like, I would play them stuff, and because I was working on the first record while I was on the show, so I would come in and play songs and play music and that kind of stuff. But I don't think anyone knew how serious I was at that stage.
Do you remember your last day on set? Were you like counting down the hours?
I remember I actually do, now that you bring it up. My last scene was I think it might be the last. I've never watched the show, but I think it might be the last scene you see Jenny in. And so I think it's me like on the train going to live with my mom or whatever the write out story was. And I'm like leaning on the window. And I think that was the rap scene, which is very fitting. And then I came back for the very finale because as a fan of television and a fan of the shows I love, like when you have the full cast together again you want to full circle that and round it out.
So you mentioned, which I do think is a great point, that like you walked away from a pretty stable job to create this, full career out of this band. That making it in the music industry is not easy, as we've kind of talked about. Was your family supportive of this decision?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think at this point I was so strong-headed and bulldozing my way into what I wanted in my life that I don't think anyone could have stopped me. No one could have stopped me. And yes, some people tried. So I think there was a level of they had to accept that this is what I was doing and either get on board or get out.
The dichotomy of this actress to then this musician, and you talked about it a little bit, of like people not taking it seriously in the very beginning. How did that affect though just how you felt about your art? Because what you've been talking about this whole interview is like how to the core passionate you are about making music. And a lot of it, you say in the beginning, was just like, sometimes people weren't even hearing my music. This has been from a very young age I've been writing. Yeah. So at the beginning of your life, it's been really just for you as this outlet. But then as you're now trying to make a career out of it, and people are still like, oh, fucking Jenny Humphreys trying to start a fucking band. Like, how the fuck did you? It
was just like that too. Right? That's exact. That's the like, and quoted by Alex. Jenny fucking Humphreys trying to start a fucking band.
How fucking annoying. And how did you? I know you said you kind of put your head down, but like, were there moments where you were like, I'm never going to shake this?
Oh, yeah. There was definitely feelings of that.
Did you lean in any capacity, like persona-wise, heavily into certain aspects to try to really detract from the Jenny aura?
Probably.
Okay.
Probably not so calculated. Thing you have to know about me, I really love comedy. And I think everything's funny. And that's kind of how I get through life. I laugh at everything. You got to be able to make light of it, or
we're going down.
It'll eat you. Yeah. So anything that I could, like, I really enjoyed shocking people because I thought it was funny. So I was 15, 16, and I was like, oh, I'm going to wear stripper shoes on stage. I'm going to put X's on my tits and flash them. I'm going to wear outfits from Hustler and be as outrageously like pornographic Lolita over the top because it freaks people out and it's super funny. Loved it. And so that became a part, but that's also who I was. Like, I enjoyed that. It wasn't calculated of like, if I do this, I'll get this reaction.
Totally.
That's how I dressed in my everyday life. But once I started to see the reaction, I went, well, let's just, oh, you don't like my dark eye makeup? Let's make it a little darker. Oh, my really tall heels are bothering you? Let's make them lucite and put money in them. Like, it was that kind of, so I think that was definitely a fun, but I had fun with it.
I feel like, again, some people don't deal with it on the world stage, but that is relatable. And like playing with your image and as women, like outfits and makeup and everything to really like self-express. And I love that you're saying like, I of course understood what it was doing, but I was still enjoying myself.
Oh yeah.
Because half of it is like, people can have social commentary on this, but guess what? You're now finally doing what you truly fucking love. And that's all that matters.
And I was always my own stylist and my own everything. So like I went shopping and I put those things together, and some of them are a little questionable when you look back. But like in general, that I was being the most authentic version of myself at that time.
So what is the story behind the name The Pretty Reckless?
Story behind The Pretty Reckless. Okay, so we formed the band. We now need a band name, which turns out band name is the hardest thing in the fucking world to come up with, especially in the internet age. Every band name's taken or trademarked. So anything you think of, can't use that, can't use that, can't use that. Kato came up with The Reckless. And I went, I love it, because I knew I wanted it to be because of the Beatles. And I wanted it to be like one word, not one of those long sentence band names, like something simple and whatever. So he went The Reckless. Perfect. That's the name. We go to trademark it. There's an issue. There's some band from the 70s called The Reckless. We can't get it. And my lawyer goes, well, just add a word. Like add any word and people will abbreviate it. You know, like Led Zeppelin. People call it Zeppelin. And she goes, and once people abbreviate it, you'll have, the trademark. It'll be common, or whatever the loophole is, that then now you can trademark that also. And so we went, okay, what's the Pretty Reckless? It's better than moderately reckless. Like, sounds good. Yes. Didn't really think of it much. And then didn't notice that didn't think ahead that everyone would abbreviate it to TPR, not The Reckless. And hence The Pretty Reckless was born. But I love it now. Like at the end of the day, the music makes the band name, not the other way around. So it does. Now I'm fully the Pretty Reckless. Like I am the Pretty Reckless at this point. You are. It's good.
Call Her Daddy is brought to you by Uber Eats. Okay, Daddy Gang, we all know Uber Eats has the best selection of local restaurants, but did you know they also eat when it comes to a whole range of delivery services? Now, that might be a lot to take in. So let's break it down, okay? Uber Eats isn't just for locked-in salad bowl lunches or pre-gaming with Ty. When you can't make it to the store, you can just get about anything you need delivered straight to your door with Uber Eats. Right now, you could be checking off your whole shopping list, okay? Of course, I'm locked in on Uber Eats when it comes to getting my lunchtime sandwiches or a good delicious meal after work. But say I need a little cocktail at the end of the day. Uber Eats is my go-to spot to get all of the ingredients I need sent to my door. I also use Uber Eats for pretty much everything: paper towels, groceries, snacks. I even order a pair of flip-flops to the nail salon, okay? They've got my back no matter where I am. When you can't make it to the store, Uber Eats brings you the store, essentially, okay? There is nothing better than putting on a good show, getting cozy on the couch, and having the perfect meal delivered right to me, along with 5 other things that I forgot to pick up that day. Uber Eats makes it easy to have it all. Get grocery, alcohol, and everyday essentials in addition to the restaurant food you love. So in other words, get almost anything with Uber Eats. Order now. For alcohol, you must be legal drinking age. Please enjoy responsibly. Product availability varies by region. See app for details. You went on tour, obviously, with one of your favorite bands, Soundgarden. And can you just talk to me about how you were offered that opportunity and like what it meant to you at that time in your career?
I have pillars of musicians that I look up to, and tiers of musicians. And when we first formed The Pretty Reckless, my 2 pillars are the Beatles and Soundgarden, hands down. And, they're my North Stars. And they were for Ben and Kato also. And that was one of the first. So we formed The Pretty Reckless over the love of those 2 bands. And AC/DC and Pink Floyd and The Doors. And, the list goes on and on. But Soundgarden and the Beatles. So to get the call, first of all, Soundgarden's been broken up forever. And so when their new record came out, they got back together. I about died of excitement and happiness. And then to go forward and get the call that they are asking us to open for them was surreal and so validating and so exciting. And I cannot picture a moment in my life where I was more happy than that moment. Like, that was the coolest thing to ever happen to me. I was floored. I could not believe it. And it was fantastic. Like, and this is obviously going somewhere sad, but it was the greatest experience, and everything about it was phenomenal. They're incredible. Meeting them was incredible, getting to know them. And you always hear, like, don't meet your heroes. And like, so I had a bit of nervousness around that of like, what if they aren't this thing I've built up in my head? Oh no, they're exactly what I built up in my head. They're kind, they're awesome. Their musicality is off the charts. It's ridiculous. Like, their records speak to me on a level that no other band does. And it's like, I feel like I knew them before I met them, because I think a lot of people with their favorite bands feel that way. Like, they know it feels like a family member. It's something that I've been listening to forever, as a part of you. And so to have that become a reality was just a insane experience. Not to mention, they're like, it's kind of as credible as it can possibly get. And so to come from everything we just talked about and now be offered this tour, the acceptance that I felt from the rock community and like them putting their stamp of approval on me and the band was just massive. Like, it came with so many layers of exciting weight to get that call. It was just the greatest thing ever. And I fucking love them, Alex. I love them so fucking much.
It's again, it's like, I think anyone that is in the world of art, like, there are, like you just said, the pillars which you look up to, whether it's your director and you look up to some of the most iconic directors that you have in your brain that inspire and influence you in so many ways. Like, you wouldn't be the Pretty Reckless in the exact way you are had you not had that influence from them. So it's like, the passion that you have is understandable because it's had such an impact on you. And then obviously tragic.
It leads to tragedy.
Can you talk to me about the lead singer passes away during that tour?
Yeah. Well, it was the last night of tour, and we played the last show in Detroit, and we all said bye. Do this again sometime. See you on the road. We all got on our tour buses, went to bed, and I was woken up the next morning really early because the news had been passed around the camp, and I was dead asleep. And first of all, I'm not, as we've talked about, I'm not a morning person, so I think my brain takes a while to wake up. So hearing the news that someone I just spoke to and hugged and talked to a couple hours ago is no longer here, I couldn't process it at first. Like, I was confused. I was going, what are you saying to me right now? And that turned into sinking in, which turned into the biggest pit in my stomach of devastation and just the worst feeling in the world of like, I fell the fuck apart. I like fell onto the ground. And that was kind of the start of what we can call my dark period. It was so shocking, and so like everything about that experience for me was so traumatic, that I still get shaky talking about it. Like, it's something I try not to think about too much, but that is brutal. It's brutal.
Beyond like words, because you're like, what we're talking about too is like some of the highest highs of your life, and then immediately wrapped into the lowest lows of your life
within like a 2-hour period.
And then about a year later, one of your other best friends passed away.
Yeah, that's Kato, who I've spoken about through Kato Kandwala. He produced all our records. He's my best friend in the world. We're inseparable, like talk every day kind of friend. And he was essentially the fifth member of the Pretty Reckless. He just didn't tour with us. And we lost him in a motorcycle accident. And it was, as I've said before, that was the nail in the coffin for me. Like after Chris, I was in the start of a downward spiral, and we continued to tour. I quickly came to a place that of realization that I was not in a place to be public. Like, I needed some time with this. I had to disappear and go try to handle this grief that was fucking eating me. And the way that I've always dealt with hard things in life is to write about them, as I've said, and to turn it into music. And so I was finally starting to kind of come to grips with Chris. Not well. Like, I was definitely not doing well, but I was going, we got to get out of this. Let's get in the studio. Let's make some music. Like, let's push forward and do what we've always done in hard times. And we booked the studio, and as soon as that happened, I got the call that Kato had passed away in a motorcycle accident, and it floored me. So it was kind of it was a giant 1-2 punch, and because they were not that far apart from each other, and I just went off the rails. Like, I didn't handle that well, to say the least. Like, I got very heavy into substance abuse and this cloud of depression that I couldn't shake, and so something that I was teetering with before really took on a life of its own, where I essentially gave up. I gave up on life. And when everything I love is dead, what's the fucking point?
When you were going through that period in your life, were you alone? Like, who did you have around you to keep you getting up every morning?
I mean, it's the band. I mean, the band is my family. Ben, Mark, and Jamie. But I did a very good job of isolating myself at that time period. And, they reach out, they check in, they come over, we play, whatever we did. But a lot of the time I just shut off my phone, like I was kind of unreachable. And that was very calculated. That was very like, I knew I wasn't in a good place. And there's like shame that comes with that if you don't want to be seen. And B, I also knew that I had kind of given up. Like, I had to I had to make a very conscious choice at a point where I was either going to live or I was going to die. And I had to either stop everything I was doing and get my life together, or this was going to kill me. And I luckily chose to move forward. But it was that serious, like, it wasn't I was in this hole of blackness that I didn't know how to get out of. And I think the bigger thing was that I was perfectly fine with that. Like, I was perfectly fine kind of staying in that place and fading away into nothing. And that was fine with me. Like, and so it took a long time to get to the other side of that.
Right. Dude, grief is like so fucking terrifying, because sometimes it's just easier to sink into it.
So much easier.
Because you're actually actively having to climb out, and then there's the guilt of like, but they don't get to experience life anymore. And so it's like your head can go to really clearly, yes, dark fucking places. Mm-hmm. How did you begin to pull yourself out? And like, yes, you had music, but like,
well, it is though. It sounds cliche. Even when I say it out loud, it sounds like made up. But one of the hardest things though was dealing with all of this. Like, music's been my solace. It's always been the thing I can turn to, listening to records or whatever that makes you feel better. And after Chris and Kato, I didn't have that anymore. Everything I listened to made it worse. Like, I couldn't listen to Soundgarden anymore. Couldn't listen to the Beatles because we listened to the Beatles with Kato. Couldn't listen to our own music because I made it with Kato. Like, everything, every band had a memory attached to it. Every song had an emotion that I couldn't handle. And so suddenly music was not in my life anymore. And that was the scariest thing for me, because this thing that's my identity that has gotten me through everything is no more, along with these people. So it was almost like 3 losses at the same time. And eventually time is the answer. But eventually I got to a place where I could start listening to records again, not Soundgarden, but I went, where did this start? Like I very calculatedly went, where did I fall in love with this? Like, how do I find myself again? And so I started at the very beginning, which was the Beatles, where it's the first band I fell in love with. It's the reason I started writing songs. It's, all the things. Started there, listened to every Beatles record, listened to the anthology, listened to over and over and over to find joy in it again. And then moved on from that in kind of almost chronological order of the bands that I fell in love with growing up to now, eventually ending in Soundgarden. And I found a place where I could listen to it and have it bring me some kind of comfort again. But also writing the record Death by Rock and Roll. So so having to get that out, that record kind of poured out of me in a way that other records have not. Some songs have, but not full, complete albums like that. And that record was so inspired, and it wasn't for anyone, and I didn't have the intention of putting it out. I didn't know if we'd record it. I didn't know any of that. Because how are we going to make a record without Kato? I don't know. There's so many things to overcome, but the writing of that record was something that I had to do for me. And it's almost like I didn't write it, but I think by getting it out, that was the first step of me starting to be able to turn the corner.
That's really beautiful, because I think it's so isolating when you're going through that, like you just said, and to have to almost reintroduce yourself to something you love so much, but that now is causing you so much pain because of the remembering of what was connected to that is torture almost. But you also have to always remember in grief that like most of these people would never want you to leave the one thing that connected you guys. And slowly the goal is to get back to it so you can feel them through, I'm sure, the music, and you can feel them when you're making it. But even the concept of making it in the beginning is so fucking hard.
So hard. It seems impossible, because at the end of the day, I try to say Kato's name every day. Or I don't even try to. I just still do, because it keeps him around, you know?
Been doing it, yeah.
And so, but he was such a big part of my life that there's no way to not talk about him. And he's still such a big part of my life. And I think that's the key to loss, and I learned that while that pain never goes away, and that feeling of, of missing them, and, all the things that come with grief, the intensity does. So it's kind of like, when it happens, you're sliced down the middle. You're bleeding everywhere, like it's blood gushing. And as time passes, that wound heals, and you're left with a massive scar. And that scar, you're not bleeding all over the floor anymore, but now that's a part of you. And so I look at everyone I've lost as like they're a scar I carry with me every day. And I'm proud to have those scars. I'm proud that they're a part of my life, and that I loved them that much to be able to feel the way I feel,
I appreciate you sharing that, because I think I've lightly talked about grief on the show, but I think it's always so, subjective, but when you put it like that, I think it can just help a lot of people, because I'm sure there's literally someone watching that's like day one starting to do the battle of and like get through it.
It's brutal. And the only thing I would say is that like, it's what Death by Rock and Roll turned into, is that at the end of the day, the record's very hopeful. Like, it starts off very dark and very bleak, but there's this kind of positive turn towards the end of it, that there is light at the end of this tunnel that seems impossible and seems never ending. And if you can just wait it out, you will get to the other side. And that's the thing that I say to anyone who's struggling with depression or loss or anything even remotely close to this kind of feeling, is that it does get better. And it's the fucked up thing about that is when people say that to you when you're in it, you want to punch them in the face.
Yeah. Like, so real. You're like, shut the fuck up. What do you know?
What the fuck do you know? It gets better. Like, what a cliche thing to say.
And then you live it, and you're like, oh, fuck, it does. Time does. It does. If you can just,
If you can just,
It does. It does.
if you can just, 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 if hang on long enough to get to the other side, there is another side waiting for you.
This is an ad by BetterHelp. So one of my closest friends moved to New York a few months ago, and I kept meaning to call her to catch up on my drive home from work. But you guys know how it goes. The second I got in the car every day, it's like my brain is fried from work and I'm just zoning out and I'm driving home and I'm getting distracted by a million things. And then finally we found time to get on the phone and talk, and just hearing her voice seriously made me so happy. And it really reminded me of how something so small can change your entire mood. And BetterHelp is encouraging all of us to check in on our friends, reconnect with loved ones, and remind them that we're here. With over 30,000 qualified therapists, BetterHelp is one of the world's largest online therapy platforms, and they do all of the matching for you, so you can just focus on your therapy goals. This month, don't wait to reach out. Whether you're checking in on a friend or reaching out to a therapist, BetterHelp makes it easier to take that first step. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/daddy. That's betterhelp.com/daddy. Walk me through what you have felt with double standards when it comes to music and the music industry for you as a woman.
I'll be honest, I get, it's probably an unpopular answer, but I tend to not, I get asked a lot what it's like to be a woman in rock and roll and a woman in music and the double, all the things you just said. And while yes, it exists, I kind of don't look at it that way. Like, I kind of live in my own, maybe I live in my own world, my own mental bubble, but I look at it like music is music, good music is good music, gender doesn't really matter, and most music's crap. Like, that's how I see it as like I want to compete with the best people. And so the only thing with, not the only thing, but the thing with being a woman in the music industry is that you get compared to women in the music industry. Not that that's a bad thing. There's a lot of amazing women, but you're cutting out an entire sect of musicians and not even putting those two next to each other because of a gender thing. So I don't really know, because I kind of just don't really think of it that way.
But I think that's like the best way to look at it. And I think that doesn't just pertain to music, which I agree with you. And I'm going to take that as advice moving forward, because I think you're right. There's so many industries that we just talk about, this woman, is she as good as this woman? Or like, oh, these actors, or oh, these politicians, or oh, these, hosts, or whatever it be.
Yeah.
And most of the time you're only comparing them to the same gender. And I agree with you. It's like so limiting.
It's so limiting. And
especially as a woman, it's like, it's also a lot of times it's derogatory, because it's like, well, for the women,
yes,
you guys are pretty good. And you're like,
what does that mean? Like, what the fuck does that mean?
I remember when I signed a deal for my podcast in the early days of my career, and everyone was like, the first woman to blah, blah, blah. And I was like, wait, no, but the deal is bigger than most men. So shouldn't we just be take out the gender?
Take out the gender. Why are you focusing on that?
Deals on podcasting. Not for a woman. You're like, what does it have to do with?
Everyone knows I'm a woman. Everyone see that.
Right.
Yeah.
So that I think is, I think that's great advice for people listening. It's just yes, you can't control the way that people are going to spin it, but you can control how you digest it, and you own it of no, I'm not going to let that affect what I'm doing.
No, it doesn't affect what I'm doing at all. And I mean, I own my femininity. I love being a woman most of the time, except for that time around the month. But
yeah, exactly.
But it's you just have to look at it like you said, you don't let it affect what you're doing. I'm assuming, who do you look up to? Who are your heroes?
Some of them are women and some of them are men.
Exactly.
It's not, yeah.
You don't only have women idols.
Right.
It's
a good point.
So why are you looking at it like that? And at the same time, when you put the women's stats in there, our stats are really good. We have a bunch of number ones and, breaking records and that kind of thing. So, but the way I handle my, my art, the music I make, whatever, that never comes into my mind at all, because why would it? I wake up I wake up a woman.
Facts. Okay, Taylor, this is Call Her Daddy.
Yes.
Let's talk about your dating life.
Okay.
What is it like trying to date as a musician?
I don't know if it has anything to do with musician and probably just me as a person, but I think that I'm a very trusting person and I'm a very guarded person at the same time. So anyone I let into my life in any form of a relationship, there's a life bond there. Like that I'm not letting people into my life that are fleeting. It's just not, I mean, you have those people in your life, but I'm always looking for something that has depth to it that is filling something that I need in my life. And that's from friends to relationships to whatever. Like it's managers. It doesn't matter. Like they have to have there's a quality about that is deep. I'm very normal, I think.
Love.
So there's that.
What is a non-negotiable you look for in someone that you're dating?
Well, kind, funny, gotta be funny, gotta make me laugh. Smart, and we have to have the same musical taste, or that's just not gonna work.
Yeah, get out of here.
That's just not gonna work at all.
You're also like, you also have to think my music is amazing. Thank you very much.
Worship the ground I walk on. Blah, blah, blah.
Just the classic.
Just the tad.
Yeah, you have some songs that you talk about unhealthy relationship dynamics. What is something that you used to put up with when you were younger that you definitely wouldn't tolerate now in romantic relationships?
Using me. I think I definitely went through a phase of dating guys that weren't interested in me for me. They were interested in what I had to give them and what I had to offer them, especially around the show. Like, well, if I date her, I can go to this party and meet so-and-so and blah, blah, blah. And I'm talking about people that were in the industry at the time and stuff, but weren't necessarily as successful and using me for something other than myself. And when you're in it, you don't see that. And when you get out of it, the anger that comes with that and the betrayal of like, I just gave you myself and you weren't interested in that at all. Like it's super fucked up feeling.
Oh yeah, that can lead to some fucking trust issues.
Yeah. So
probably that.
But the good news is I can really see through that now. So
yeah, and you were young and it's like,
and I was young.
That makes sense. Have you ever been cheated on?
Yes.
How did you find out?
I walked in on it.
Taylor.
Yeah.
Taylor.
Yep.
No, you didn't.
Oh, yeah, I did.
No.
Oh, yeah, I did. At a party. Walked into a back room looking for a bathroom or a drink or something. I don't know, whatever the fuck I was doing. And
did they know you were at the party too?
Oh, yeah.
And
I was probably coming from an event or something and then stopped by later. But, walked in on like full naked, like full on sex happening.
Did you just be like, okay, I'm not gonna walk out? Or what was your reaction?
I left and I went with my best friend at the time and we went and got a tattoo.
What is the tattoo?
I have a teeny tiny star. It's my one and only tattoo.
How did you come up with the star? You're like, I just got cheated on?
I don't know.
Star?
Yeah, like we got matching tattoos. That was
Did the person call you after?
Street.
Stop.
Yeah.
Did they call and apologize or they never?
I'm trying to remember now how this all went down.
Taylor.
Oh, there was a big like, fuck you match and I never lose my fucking number. Like, can't do that shit.
You got a cute tattoo out of it though.
But I got my one and only.
That's your only tat?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Post-cheating classic. Love that for you.
The best part was it was St. Mark Street and my friend is a guy and he got one here too. His is like twice as big as mine. Mine took 10 times longer than his.
Was it painful?
It was right on the rib. But the guy doing it, I think, really just like staring at my boob because my teeny tiny star took forever. And it's like, it's a mole.
You're like, babe, this is actually a dot. Like we've been done.
It's a dot. Like I'm essentially Phoebe in Friends when she gets her mom tattooed on her and it's just the dot. Like that's.
And this motherfucker's been done for an hour and you're like, are we still going?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, well, good to know. You're one tat. And would you get more? No.
No.
You're done.
No, I'm done. Beatles didn't have tattoos. I'm good.
Oh, I love that that's like your compass North Star.
It is.
You're like,
It's my
Beatles
total-
didn't have tattoos. Taylor won't have
Yeah.
tattoos.
I'm also over evolving. So like, I don't want to, it's hard I'm too indecisive.
I'm the same way. I'm like, I don't even know what I would want on my body for forever. So I'm just not going to do it.
I think like I draw on myself a lot and I use those like ink box pens and the ones that
And then it
last because
fades.
that's fun, but then it fades.
Okay, let's talk about your Christmas EP. I know we mentioned it earlier, but 'tis the fucking season. It's so good.
Thank you.
I was listening to it on my way here. And first of all, I want you to know that hearing you put together the song with your 6-year-old self, I was getting emotional.
It made me emotional.
Yeah.
Like hearing it back for the first time, like singing it's one thing, but then actually listening to it come through the speakers after the first take of it, like
It's beautiful.
you well up. Like there's something so...
And I love how the EP, it's also like you did such a brilliant job of like, there's some slow, there's some rock, there, like you really gave us everything that we needed and more. The lyrics are perfect. Like I'm so excited to be listening to this during Christmas time. The Grinch is also re-releasing in theaters for the 25th anniversary.
Yeah.
What does it mean to you that movie and now full circle with this EP, like this is now just becoming a part of so many people's like Christmas traditions?
Well, I think that like over the years, realizing that Grinch was never going to go away, I became more and more fond of it and seeing how much joy that it brings to people, you know, old and young, and every year people discovering it and like just loving it so much makes me really happy to be a part of something that brings that much happiness to other people. How very Cindy Lou Who of me, but it's true. Like it makes me nostalgic and, you know, proud that I can bring smiles to people around the world every year. Or that I'm not me, but I'm a part of something that does.
Have you rewatched it?
Oh, I've definitely watched Grinch.
You have?
Yes. Of course.
Okay, that makes me
I
really
don't watch
happy.
it every year, but I definitely watch like a few scenes every year. And this year I want to go see it in theaters because
Can you fucking imagine? I'm looking into camera. Can you imagine being sitting in the fucking movie theater and you're sitting in like the 5th row, the 6th row, you turn to your right and you're like, Taylor fucking Momsen? Wait, Cindy Lou Who? I'm dead. That would be crazy.
right?
But you got to just roll up though.
Oh, totally.
And have it be like a public theater.
Oh yeah.
You just come by.
I'm not posh at all. I'm New York. Like I'll go to the theater.
The way that would be just the most like healing experience. No, that is really fucking cool. Okay, we're coming up into the new year.
Yes, we are.
What are you looking forward to in this next year of your life?
Oh my goodness. I'm looking forward to so much.
Okay.
We are going back out on tour with AC/DC. So that's going to be amazing. It's been amazing so far, but the fact that we get to continue this journey with them is incredible. They're just the coolest. They're the loudest band you've ever heard in your life in the most awesome way possible. They're the coolest people. They're so kind. But their live show is a schooling in what rock and roll is. And to get to watch that every night is just mind-blowing. So to continue that with them is very exciting for me. So I can't wait for that. And tour. Really, like the long and short of it is tour and new music and tour and new music, and the cycle continues. But it's always fun to put out new music and tour new songs because it's start of a new era, and that's always a really fun place to be in.
I appreciate you being so open today because I think as an interviewer, there's such a clear pattern that I'm just starting to see of like, and this is why I love my job so much, is I get to sit down with people that maybe people have understood them through like a lens that just was not their personal lens. It's through different pieces of other people's art, especially if you're an actress. And I think it's beautiful to like hear from you exactly what that time was like in your life. It doesn't mean people can't still enjoy Gossip Girl. It doesn't mean people can't still go and enjoy The Grinch, but hearing how it was affecting you as a real human being, that's work. And I think sometimes people forget like that was a job for you.
Yes.
And so as much as we can enjoy it as consumers, like you're a real human being that was getting paid to do these things. And who the fuck enjoys their work at all times? No one.
No one. Like,
no one.
It's a job.
So like giving some grace.
Although I take that back.
Yeah,
I
like,
enjoy my work
now.
Every minute of every day.
Because it's your passion.
Now. Like getting to, the only thing that you don't enjoy is the actual like travel, the
There you
physical travel of tour is brutal.
So we can always find something.
But
Taylor.
other than, but like
You're
the
happy.
fact that I get to play music as a career and call it a job is insanity. And it's like, I'm so lucky. It's not. Playing's a pleasure. Playing is, it's just fun.
Yeah.
And it's what it should be. And
No,
I think that's, I feel so fortunate.
But you're also just the exact example, and I've always said this, and I know it is a privilege, but it's like if you are able to turn your purpose and your passion like into your job or your career, it is such a privilege and it's so incredible to experience it. But the way that you talk about acting versus being a musician, it's like there is no comparison.
No.
You light up. This is who you are. This is what you are. And so yes, you were known as something, but I think it's beautiful to now let the world fully lean in and get to know you as this version of yourself, because this is your true self. And that's what we want to celebrate. It's like, let people be who the fuck they are. End of story. Goodbye.
Oh my God. Thank you so much for having me on. You're kind of like popping my podcast cherry. I'm not a bit, I think maybe I've done a couple, but I'm not like I don't do this a lot.
Well, you crushed. That was amazing.
I hope that was all right.
Thank you, Taylor.
I really appreciate it. You make this very comfortable in
I'm happy you were
every
cozy.
way, shape, or form.
That was the goal. Thank you. Seriously, thank you for coming on.
It.